like to welcome you all here. My name is David Newman. I'm an associate chair of the filmmaking department. I'm also a directing instructor here. That was a wonderful film. That was the first time I saw it. We are very privileged to have the director of the film here with us this evening, Juanjo Gimenez. He is in Los Angeles because this film has been nominated for a Best Short Film Oscar. So we'll hopefully chat a little bit about that experience, what it's like kind of being in the Oscar tornado. But please welcome Juanjo, and I'll be having a conversation with him, and then we will open the floor to questions from you guys. So Juanjo Gimenez. That's yours. So welcome. First question, when you were casting the film, were you looking for actors who could dance or dancers who could act?
No, I was looking for professional dancers.
Okay.
That was my main goal. I watch a TV from Catalonian TV, public TV, devoted to emerging choreographers and dancers in Catalonia. I watch like more than 100 dancers and choreographers, and about the minute 20, 21, Lali appeared. Her face was really, I loved her face without watching her dance. And speak about her job as a dancer. And later, she and Nico started dancing the program, and I said to myself, that's it.
That works.
She's Luna and he's Diego. So I contacted them minutes later, and they said yes.
Excellent. Did they know you were looking at them, or?
No. It was like I took some risks because Lali and Nico, it was their first time in a dramatic movie or even in theater. So they are dancers and they know how to dance, of course. But it was a risk to try to act or to have a role in a film, but everything went really well with them. They are disciplined actors. Lali, I think she's really talented for. I know. I think we were lucky, but they are really great. Okay.
I couldn't help but think, especially as the final sequence was coming on, and you had the beautiful dance montage, that I wonder if there's a little serendipitous luck for you, because there was something of the spirit of this year's frontrunner for feature in your film.
La La Land, you mean?
Yes, just you know.
But I think that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are worse dancers than Lali and Nico. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I'm not arguing arguing that
joking,
at all.
just
But
joking.
just the capturing dance on film, making that part of the storytelling. I think your film does it beautifully, as well as Mr. Chazelle's. So you're from Barcelona.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got to this point, your career? A lot of these people out here are film students, and they are here, usually coming out of here with at least a couple of short films, and then going, kind of figuring out how to navigate their way through the business, either here, or we also have a lot of international students who some stay and some go back to their country. So I'm just wondering a little bit what your journey, your filmmaking journey was.
I started about 20 years ago making short films. I went to film school in Barcelona, a film called SEC, Centre d'Estudis Cinematogràfics Catalunya. And I started in the 95, 96, making some short films. Then I created my own small production company. I started working as a producer and as a director. I love producing other filmmakers.
Was that work for hire?
Yeah.
Okay, so
maybe.
I'm just wondering. So you set up a production company in
Yes.
Barcelona.
Yes, because
and who are you working for? Who are some of your clients?
first of all, we wanted to produce our own short films because it's difficult to convince other producers in Spain to produce your short films. And at that time, I'm talking about 35 millimeters thing, so it was expensive to produce a short film. I think right now we have more democratic tools in order to produce a film, but back then, I remember producing a serious short film, it costs money because the negative costs money. Renting a professional camera was really, really expensive. So
Labs and processing?
We started to, first of all, build our own small production company in order to get some financing from the public institutions and even private and sponsors. And then I started making my own short films as a director and others, colleagues, filmmakers, as a producer. So during my career, I made several, 3 features as a director, 1 fiction film and 2 documentaries, and this is my 9th short film.
Wow.
So I have a long career. Maybe I'm not the usual profile for a short filmmaker that starts making a short film and then try to go to features and then never go back to short films. I love making short films. I think that my way approaching filmmaking fits very well short films. So I make either short or feature films. So maybe more or less, I don't know if I answer your question.
No, that was pretty good. So again, these most of these students are looking at careers and how do I go out there and make a living in this business. So short films are not known as being things that make a lot of money.
No.
So I'm just wondering how as far as making a living in filmmaking, how have you approached that?
It's difficult, but let me tell you one thing. I think in terms of financial result, I think my short films are working better than my feature films, but maybe I'm an exception because normally short films lose money. That's the truth. In my case, I have 2 or 3 short films that went really well in the festival circuits, won a lot of prizes, and we sold it to TV channels and so on.
Okay.
But usually short films don't move much money.
Right.
Features or documentaries, okay, but in the 90s, for example, when I started, usually you start making short films in order to arrive to direct feature films and make a living. You're calling cards. But right now, even if you make a feature film, that doesn't assure you a living because there are a lot of people making feature films and they are not earning a lot of money.
And it doesn't guarantee you another feature film.
So right now you must choose the length of your film depending on what you want to explain or what's your story or if what you are trying to explain it fits 20, 15 or 2 hours. So in my case I made 2 or 3 documentaries that went really well. For example, I was a producer of one documentary called My Grandmother's House from a friend, Dan Aliaga. It won ITFA. ITFA is the biggest film festival and it was presented in a lot of television around the world. So I think that was a turning point in my career as a producer. Even it was shortlisted for the Oscars back in 2005. Okay. We didn't make the nomination.
Was that a documentary feature?
A documentary feature, okay. Yes. It's about a grandmother. They are forcing they want to demolish their house. She's forced to find another place to live, and it's really a touching documentary. And we won a lot of prizes. Adan, I think it was his first film, and after that he's living in New York and he's making a career as a filmmaker after that film. So I don't know. I feel that I have both a career as a producer and a director, but what's happening with this short film is totally unexpected. Because when you're making a short film or a film, you never think about awards and recognition.
No, you don't.
Maybe Orson Welles did it back in the 40s, but not me. So
he never won an Oscar.
Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen, and this one, I think it has really a great career. So
why do you think this film is starts taking off?
I think I'm not the right person to sell it. Maybe we can ask the audience later.
We can open that up. Another thing, you know, a lot of my students, you know, when they finish their short films, they start looking at festivals and what festival to submit it to. And, you know, there's the big one. Your film, Timecode, won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which is
really big,
the premier award at that festival. Have you found anything, because I've heard stories about just the political aspect of submitting films to festivals, and, you know, I have heard, for example, you know, at Sundance, they get thousands of submissions, and how do you know, do you have any insight into how to deal with festival submissions?
Yeah, maybe I have a lot of experience because I've made several short films, but I think there's no rule. There's some things I know about it, that programmers and people and audience in general, they are looking for great films. And the world isn't against you. So if you are making, if you made a really good films, a good film, you're gonna find a spot or a place to show it. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Then you can make it in several ways. I know that here in the US and Canada, you must pay the fees normally for film festival, short film festival. At that, that makes a difference with Europe, because normally in Europe, it's free submitting a film to a festival. Normally, there are, for example, in Cannes, it's free. They received 5,000 short films, more than 5,000, and the selection was only 10. So to be there is really, it's crazy.
Yep.
But I later talking to them, to the selection committee, they watch every film.
Okay.
Until the last credit. That's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't. Not only one person, of course.
Right.
Because if not, he can go to therapy right now. Because watching 5,000 films in a rush, I think that's not good for health. But
no.
But they have groups, and they have like a big machine. There are several groups, and if a film is really good or stands out, they catch it because they want to show good films to audience. So if you have really a good film, so you're confident with it, try with some festivals. Of course, there are strategies, or you must, of course, keep some money for distribution. That's the main rule. You even for feature films. So you must make your budget thinking that after the film is finished, you need to apply to some festival, and that costs money. So I usually start sending the films to festivals myself, but then I contact to some distribution companies. In Spain, we have 4 or 5 small or medium short film distribution companies, and they are taking care of your short film. There are a lot of strategies, but first of all, make a good film, of course.
Absolutely.
And be confident, and that's
what I
all.
strive. Tell all my students to strive for. You were a co-writer of Timecode?
Yes.
And how did the story originate?
It was a mix. It comes from a personal experience. When I worked, I studied economics before making films short. And I worked for a big company, and I had one day in the week that I was almost free. I have some free hours. So I started writing things in the company's computer, some ideas or writing scripts. And a colleague acceded to that writings and start passing that writings to the colleagues in order to laugh a bit about my crazy ideas and my science fiction stories. And then I was like surprised that it was my secret, like Luna discovers Diego's secret in the movie. That was the original idea.
Oh, interesting.
And then I wanted to make something about dance. And then as talking to my co-writer, Pera, we decided to change writing for dancing and start thinking about what's happening when...
It's a lot more fun to watch, isn't
it? Exactly. But because someone, maybe Kaufman do it very well because I remember Nicolas Cage, exactly, or Nicolas Cage writing scripts. But I think dancing is
I'd rather watch
fun.
your actors dancing than Nicolas Cage typing.
Of course. That face of
And I love Nicolas. I love that film. So have you been to Los Angeles before?
No, it's my first time in California.
So how long have you been here?
I was my first day was the 6th because I was attending the luncheon of the nominees. I was only a few hours.
So you flew in and you went to that luncheon.
A few hours later, I was with Octavia Spencer, Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, and the rest. Yeah.
So can you give us some impressions of
what can I say?
The Oscar
what can I
experience
say?
in Los Angeles?
It's like, I don't know, if somebody told me that when I was shooting that film, I would say that's crazy. But once you're there, you're trying to behave that it's your day-to-day. So I'm here, so...
And I have to ask, did you bring a tux or are you renting a tux? A tuxedo?
No, I have one because when we went to Cannes, we were forced to wear a tuxedo, and it's exactly the same. So we're not buying a new one.
Right.
So it's exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay. If you guys want to ask any questions, there's a microphone set up back there.
First of all, just thank you so much for sharing that wonderful film. It was awesome to see it. My question to you is, you said that this was your 9th short film, and this is sort of like the one that's, blown up and become successful. But can you talk about maybe the other 8, like where they went, or if they went anywhere, and like how it was like for you to make those other shorts to accumulate to where you are now?
It's my first nomination, of course. This makes the difference, but that doesn't mean that the other short films weren't some kind of success. I made 3 short films about soccer because I love soccer. I was a soccer player when I was young. I was forced to quit because I had a really hard injury in my knee. So I decided to change soccer for filmmaking. But I made 3 short films about soccer that went very well in film festival. In fact, they are showing every 4 years during the World Cups and making some money in theaters even. The rights are given to a German distribution company, and they are really successful short films. Of course, they are not nominated or a big success like Timecode can be, but these 3, for example, are really, they had a really long career. The other, it's a mix. Some of them went simply okay, and some of them were a failure. Yeah, but with short films, there is a thing that you can risk. There is not a lot of money involved in short films, so you can put some creative risk in it. For example, if I make a feature with the same actors as Timecode, and I said to my investor or my producer, okay, we are not going to go to a normal audition process, or we are not having rehearsals before the shooting as we did in Timecode. That would be impossible in a feature film because somebody wants to recover or the money back. So there are a lot of pressure on you because of that. In short films, less money, less pressure, more freedom. So you can take the risk and have a failure and go on. I think I learned that by making short films. So I don't know if you...
And what's kind of interesting too is, I mean, my career was spent in features and television and, commercial things that I didn't necessarily create, but found work doing. I tell a lot of my students that, that being in film school at this point in their lives, this is, could be a rare opportunity to make the film that you really want to make, that really expresses who you are. You seem to have kind of taken that on as a kind of a mantle and found a way to kind of navigate your way through the film industry, making the films you want to make, doing short films.
And it's not easy. No. It's not easy because you need to earn a living, and sometimes it's difficult. When I made my first feature film, I was also the main producer, and we lost some money. So it took 2 or 3 years to recover. Mm-hmm. And then I started making short films again because I wanted to shoot. Raise money for another feature was really difficult because my first feature film, it was shown in theaters in Spain. It was sold to HBO, but it wasn't a big success. So it was difficult to convince investors to have money for another feature. So short film saved my life,
Right.
my career in some way.
Right,
So.
absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I really enjoy your movie.
Thank you.
I have one question. There was a lot of wide shots. It was really beautiful composition, framing, and everything. And that set up the mood of the whole thing. But also, they're not actors, right? If it felt like we were watching a short film, but also a music video choreography. It's like,
Yeah.
can you explain how you thought about it before?
We decided to not put too much dialogue. There are only some phrases that they exchange. Morning, how was the night, and that's all. And we tried to explain things in another way. And I think the space. In fact, Lali and Nico, they are repeating movements from a show they were rehearsing at that time called Incognito. It was in the credits. So we didn't have to rehearse a lot because they know exactly the movements. I step in only when it comes to mix the dance with the space, because I choose a parking lot as the set, because it was really contrasted to put some dancers in a space like that. Usually in films, parkings are used for crime, to kill somebody, or car chasing, but never art and beauty like that. So it works like contrast. And I love Jack Tati. I don't know if you know films from Tati. Playtime, for example. Playtime is really a great example of how to use a non-human setup, like a parking lot, and try to compose shots in a really nice way. Or there is a lot of. I love Tati, and you can watch Playtime, and you will see some influence.
He was a. First of all, his movies are wryly, hilariously funny.
Yeah.
But his use of the frame is extraordinary.
Amazing. I think he's
there was nobody like him. And he created, like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, he created one of the iconic screen comedy characters in Monsieur Hulot. So if you guys don't know Jacques Tati, I'm sure we have some of his films in our library. Go check them out. Do you have more?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hello, great job with the film. I thought it was wonderful. Now, you mentioned a key word earlier about how with some of your ideas you've explored the genre of science fiction, and that kind of snapped at me because I'm a huge fan of science fiction. One, are you thinking of diving into that genre as a filmmaker? And two, what are some of your biggest science fiction inspirations?
I love Kubrick 2001, and I think there are some reminiscences there in the shots with the symmetry angles. When Luna is marking the card every day. I think we have some, I don't know, but I love Kubrick work. I think it's a masterpiece, and when I watched the first time in a big screen, I was really amazed. No? I always put in some shorts, I put some fantasy touches. I never made really a science fiction film. In fact, I'm writing with Pera a film about people who has telepathy, and it will be, if we finish it, it will be my first real science fiction film, but always with a touch of comedy, because I love comedy, and it's impossible for me to write something without some touch of comedy. But I love really science fiction films apart from Kubrick. I don't know. I love Body Snatchers from the 50s.
Don Siegel.
Don Siegel, it's really...
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Exactly.
It's a masterpiece.
A masterpiece, completely. And really low-budget films like Queen of Blood, That's difficult to find. That it made a lot of impression of me because I was eating a sandwich with tomato, and I cannot eat tomato again. So it was like a shock. So you must find Queen of Blood in IMDb and watch it because
I don't know anything about that film.
it's really a B-serious film.
Is it
but it's
American or Spanish?
Now it's very funny, but I was 6 when I watched it and I was really scared.
Where was it made?
It's here in the U.S. So
Queen
it's,
of Blood, huh?
I think Dennis Hooper is one of the main characters.
All right.
And the director is Curtis Hanson. Well, you must check it. You might check this one because really it's a cult movie. Okay.
Curtis Hanson directed it?
Yes.
Curtis Hanson, who passed away last year.
Exactly.
Directed L.A. Confidential and Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
But years later, because Queen of Blood is 70s or something like that. So.
Right. So actually a lot of well-known directors cut their teeth on horror and science fiction films.
And work with
Roger Corman.
Roger Corman, you said it before me, so exactly. Great.
Yep.
Excelente película.
Gracias.
I want to ask you, I am a cinematographer student.
Okay.
I want to ask you because I really thought it's very clever the way you chose the camera because it's very static. And like, if I think about like a film for dancing, you think like straight like, oh, it's gonna be a lot of movement and thing, but it's really clever to like choose the opposite for this in a world that is so desperate to be like movement all over the place. I just want to know like the conversations that you have with your DP about this.
Well, if I can, in a way, your story gives you no choice because the dance is all being presented on these closed circuit cameras. So from a practical storytelling standpoint, the frame has to be static.
Exactly. But I'm in love with the tripod, so we forget, sometimes we forget that we have the option of not moving the camera at all. That doesn't mean that there are some shots with camera movement. I think that's very academic. There is a traveling with the numbers in the floor, and if I love moving the camera as well. But in this setting, I wanted to be very, very precise with the framing. And for example, we decided with the DOP change the approach because in the script the parking lot was a sordid one, a filthy. We imagined really a dark space, and then we get this one for free. Mm-hmm. But it was brand new. In fact, the third floor, my car was the first car entering the third floor because and it was so clean and nice. So we changed the approach. We changed the approach with my DOP. So the real scenes, the dramatic scenes, are less saturated and less contrasted than the CCTV cameras. Mm-hmm. It's the other way around. So because I think that real communication, beauty, is in CCTV instead of real life. In real life, there is almost no communication. Right. There are no talking, no contact. Right. But in CCTV cameras, which are a GoPro and a stick, that's all. So there is no CCTV cameras pointing to the cars because it's forbidden. There are only the common spaces and public spaces in the real parking. But with our stick and a GoPro, we put the camera everywhere, and they know how to dance. So in 3 hours, we get like 2 hours and a half of material.
Great.
In order to edit later and so on. So it was that was an DOP idea to put this, and with the iPhone, he controlled the GoPro with the iPhone, and okay, let's go. Laura was the assistant director, she's here, and maybe she can tell how many people we were in the crew.
How many people were in the crew, Laura?
Well, the first day we were like maybe 5.
5 or 6.
Yeah, because it was a script, the DOP, and the producer, art, 6.
6.
How long of a shoot was it? How many days?
Only a weekend.
2 days?
Yeah.
Well, one day and a half.
How long are your days in Spain?
48 hours because no, it's.
I mean, how long are you?
In fact, we started Friday in the morning, and we finish Sunday by 6 p.m. and that's all.
And you really had one location.
Only one.
Where her apartment stuff was that in the same building?
Exactly. All is shoot.
Because those were all just tight shots of her.
All was
ready
shooting
anyway.
there. It was very easy. But the editing spanned across 8 months because there are a lot of post-production there, and we hadn't a lot of money. So the people from the post-production crew must work outside the normal hours, taking advantage of free time of computers and so on. And it took 8 months to complete.
Right.
And all the CCTV system is made up in post-production.
I was going to say, so when you were shooting the monitors, were those all? You weren't
Green screen.
You weren't playing anything back.
Green
that was
screen.
all green screen.
It's really pity because we had some behind-the-scenes clip, but there is some clues about what the way we were doing this. We decided to put a green screen because we hadn't time to prepare beforehand. So, and we need freedom in order to work with actors and work in other creative areas instead of trying to match records. And so we left everything for post-production.
Okay.
And finally, I think it was really a good decision because.
And did you create that all those monitors, or was that actually
everything? In fact, the 2 monitors that appear in the movie are the same monitors that where the film were edited. So it's exactly the same monitors. So, and it's all green screen. And I decided to shoot always Luna mainly and Diego with the screens in the background. That means that there are 80% of the shots with post-production, even with the hair. And for example, do you remember when they exchanged post-its? That this scene wasn't in the script, so.
And so, how did you come up with that in editing? That you felt you needed to suggest the passage of time? And by the way, I watched the calendar and the clock. Very good.
Okay.
I knew how much time had passed.
Exactly, but the number in the calendar is changed in post-production because the calendar was 17. The real number was 17. So Tony was the. I remember that call. So I said, Tony, you need to change. No way.
So every time you saw the calendar, it was a 17.
The last scene when when Luna realized that there is no post-it, the date, the shooting date was 17. Right. But because we had this exchange of dates, I think it's past a week.
Right.
So we need to change that number because if you watch and you notice that there is no record. So I told Tony to change and his team to change that number. And it wasn't so easy because there is some hair and there is some... and there was a silence in the phone because he was thinking that the film was finished. Oh, that's okay, that's great. And what? But finally he made it and it was really great.
And can I ask you what the budget was on Timecode?
Wow. The shooting we shoot almost for free because the camera was a Red Dragon and we rented for really cheap. And the parking
You got a weekend rate.
Only weekend.
Right.
The parking was free. Arturo was one of the co-producers, convinced Bauhaus. Bauhaus is a mall that we have in Barcelona. Convinced them in order to have it for free. That was really great because, and only the catering and some money for trips, food, cars, the minimum.
Right.
But after that, we spent some money in post-production for sure because there are a lot of people working in post-production. The composer and the studios and all the sound post-production cost money. I think the official cost, the budget of the film is right now $30,000.
Okay.
But that's the official. Right. So there is. I think we can. It's less than that, but
right.
more or less is that.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. So you directed shorts and features. When you came up with an idea for a film, how do you know it's going to be a short, or when you're developing it? Like, what are the main differences?
Normally, I work with another writer. My first short films, I wrote them myself without a co-writer. But then I realized that it's better to work with somebody, at least for me it works like that. And in some cases, I put the rules beforehand. For example, in this one, I work as a teacher in a small school near Barcelona, in Reus. And every season they have a short film made at the end of the season in order to the students to participate in a professional shooting. One in camera, art department, production, and so on. And every year they make a short film. So they proposed me this year to make the film myself. So I came with this idea. Then I proposed to my co-writer to write a short film. But sometimes it's different. We exchange idea. What's going to we start from a blank page and we start about exchanging ideas. And sometimes we came up with a short and sometimes with a feature. But in this case, it's.
Do you know right away if it's going to be a short or a feature, just from conceptually what you're coming up with?
Yeah, normally yes. For example, this one is what it was clear. Because I'm the main producer, because the school is only a collaborator. They collaborate, and it's my own production, but with the collaboration of the school. So we needed to write it in 2 weeks in order to be fast. In fact, we started to write 1.5 months before the shooting. It was really quick this time. So, but it depends.
Another gentleman has a question.
Hi, thank you for showing us this
You're
great
welcome.
film. And my question is like, how to make like a good short film? If I want to talk with some relationship like this, it will make film longer. But I can't short the film. Can you teach me how to short?
Yeah. When you're making a short film, you need to condense things. For example, you don't have time to show the background of Luna, the main character. We don't know if he lives alone, if she has a family, or she's married, or.
But can I ask you something? Did you know, and did the actors know? Do you go into the background of the characters, even in a film like this, where it appears to be immaterial, but it could also give them something to hang on to as far as the creation of their characters?
Me and my co-writer, we know.
Okay. And do you communicate that?
We decided some things in order to build this character. For example, we knew that Luna was a dancer, and she's forced to work as a security guard because she has no money. But she's in love with dancing. And when she's first watching Diego dancing, in his head, he's remembering what was to be a dancer.
So it sparks.
Exactly, because in some audiences, I had some Q&As before, and for some people, this is a romance film. They fall in love, or dancing is like a kind of making love in some ways. But I don't agree with that. They are in love with dance. They are in love with dance, and because there are some touches in the film. For example, when she entered the cabin for the first time, and there is a radio going on, and she doesn't love what Diego is hearing at the radio. And after Diego is leaving the cabin, she goes to the radio and turns off immediately, because there are no connection between them. They are only sharing the space, but there are no connection. In short films, you don't have time to explain things in a more long way. You need to put details like that in order to show what the characters are feeling. But once Luna is watching that Diego is using the night for dancing, I think that's the turning point of the film. So at the end, okay, if the audience think that this is a romance or a love story, that's okay for them. I'm not going to tell them this is not. But for me and for my co-writer, this is a story of love for art and dancing, of course. And they are sharing that. They are sharing. Maybe after this dance that we have seen at the end of the film, they are split ways and they are working another. But at that moment, they are connected. So
right. I also thought
I don't know.
I also thought there was an element to the film and to the dance of performance art, of taking dance and putting it in a untraditional setting.
Of course.
And I don't know if that idea of performance art influenced you at all. Or?
Yeah, I agree. In film school, normally teachers tell you that you need to write or to shoot about things you know. And maybe that's true for the first films you're making, because normally you're more confident about that. But in my case, I learned that for me it's an adventure to make films about things I don't know. For example, I made a documentary film about boxing. I don't know nothing about boxing. I'm really bad at dancing too, so I'm taking the advantage of being a filmmaker in order to explore and to enter fields and disciplines that, for me, it was incredible to think about it. So, okay, you must begin explaining things you know, you're confident, but as your career develops, maybe you can try something different, or entering even in documentaries or in fiction like this one. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I saw that even if it was subtle, there was a little bit of comedy in there, and I'm a huge fan of comedy. And I researched before, and I saw your short film about Máxima Pena.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I love that there was
Thank you.
comedy there, but even if you were not, it's about soccer. So even if you didn't know anything about soccer, there's some genuine body movements that were just, showing you the emotions that they were having, just the same as Timecode. They weren't saying that much, but with their eyes, with their emotion of their body, they were telling you a story. And so even though it was subtle, there was comedy there. And so where do you find, seeing Timecode and Máxima Pena, where do you find your comedy inspiration?
I love comedy, and I think when I'm writing, I tend to put jokes and irony, and I don't know, I think it's my nature. So I feel comfortable writing comedy. I think this one is not a good example because it has comedy, of course, but it's a mix. It's a mix of genres. Even when I show the film, the first time I show the film to the post-production team, when Nico is making this kind of movement, they say, "Okay, another zombie movie," because they thought it was a Walking Dead thing, so it was an infected. So that's okay because we're playing with the audience in order to hide the intentions. I mean, at the beginning you must think there is some kind of thriller or mystery. There's not so much comedy. Of course, when they start dance or you watch Diego dancing, there are some laughs because there is a voyeur kind of thing. It's supposed that we are not allowed to watch this. We are watching this through the eyes of Luna, and that makes us laugh. But it's not comedy because Diego is not making something funny. It's only rehearsing some dance. But for us, it's laughing. For us, it was a surprise. The first time we showed the film in Cannes, it was 4,000 people there, and it was our first time with an audience, and everybody was laughing, and we were, what's that? This film is going to be a failure because my intention wasn't to make fun of but of course in the end there is a big joke, which some critics and some reviews, they don't like it. Some of them yes, but and that's okay because if your film is everybody loves your film, something wrong. So that's okay. But I put always touches of comedy. Even in my first feature film, it wasn't a comedy, and it was written with another co-writer, and there is always a fight between him and myself, because I wanted to put more comedy in it, and he was reluctant to that. So finally, I fired him, and I get another co-writer in order to write more comedy. Okay, I love comedy, and you have some advantage in front of the rest, because you have seen 2 films of mine, and the rest only one. So, thank you.
One thing I tell all my students often, even in the most serious of films, I believe that an element of humor is very important, because I think it engages the audience, and I'm all for humor in films.
Yeah, for example, in Cannes there were 10 films in the competition, and I think the other 9 were really dramas or tragedies or really hard issues, social issues, and I think that my film has this light or this positive way of, and I think that was good for us, because it was like a fresh air.
Yes.
And, you are watching 8 films, one after another, and then crying every film, and then you watch something like that. Okay, that's okay.
Yep.
But juries normally they don't give prizes or recognition to comedies, and that's very difficult.
I always say comedy is a lot harder than drama.
Of course.
A lot harder.
And you notice for the first time, the minute 0, that if it's working or not.
That's
because
right.
there is no laugh. Wow, that's... Oof.
It's unforgiving.
Yeah.
Unforgiving. Well, I want to thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Gracias.